If you think that tulips and daffodils are the only bulbs to have in your garden, you have not met Yolanda from Veen Bulbs. And Yolanda, you just have a beautiful spread for us. And why don't we just start right with the spring blooming ones? And you can still get those now as a pre-order for fall, but they're coming up now in our yards.
Yeah, so I always say, you always think about ordering bulbs when you see them in bloom.
You do.
And the thing about when we have all these beautiful new varieties of daffodils out, and they're so beautiful, and tulips. And so even in the spring, my attitude is you can always pre-order online with a lot of companies like ours, vanveenbulbs.com, and then we just ship them in the fall.
Oh.
Or sometimes you can find them in pots already blooming. But you can order bulbs year-round, you just don't get them until the fall sometimes.
Well, it's a great way because sometimes you forget, and then they're gone, and then you've lost out.
Yes, and then the summer blooming bulbs and the fall blooming bulbs, my theory on that is even if you plant them in the summertime or in the fall, if they're hardy, any time of the year is the good time to plant them because then you have them. We can move you around, so can our plants.
Right. So what are some of the ones that will be blooming after the tulips and the daffodils fade?
Well, the tulips and the daffodils, once they fade, I've got lots of pretty ones. Like this one right here is called Scilla peruviana, and it's one of my most favorite plants. And it's not from Peru, it's actually from the mountains of Spain, and then the Spanish brought it with them to Peru.
Oh, okay.
So, and then it was found in Peru, and they've also found it on a ship called the Peru. When Linnaeus named all the plants, he found that bulb on the ship called the Peru. He assumed it was from Peru, so he called it a peruviana. But now we know it's from Spain.
Well,
but it's very hardy in the Northwest. It can get down to 10 degrees.
Oh,
and
nice.
it'll bloom every April, May. So it's one of those wonderful flowers in between the tulips and the lilies.
Oh, great. Now, what about gladiolus? These are just gorgeous.
Gladiolus are beautiful, and the wonderful thing about glads is that you can plant them even into May or June, or even sometimes in the beginning of July if you can find them, and they bloom in about 90 days.
Perfect.
So I've planted them late and then gotten blooms even into September, October, which I love to do.
Yeah.
And then the next year they just bloom a little bit earlier.
Very
So
nice.
that's the great thing about summer blooming bulbs. You can plant them later into the season and get later blooms.
Excellent. Now, some of these are just so sweet and so little, but they're so stunning.
They are, and my favorite plants in the world are South African bulbs. And unfortunately, unless it's a really good cut flower, they're not mass produced. But this plant right here is called a Tritonia. And they used to put it in the Ixia family. It's an iris-related plant, but now it's back into Tritonia. But I just love it. And some books say that it's hardy down to zone 6. So even in the Northwest, if it's in a really good drainage area, it'll do really well. But it's just a really pretty flower, and I love it. And even in pots, too. I just keep it outside and then throw it in the greenhouse for the winter time.
Nice. And what about this yellow one with a little trumpet?
Well, now this one is more like a crocosmia. It's called Crytanthus mackenii, and that's Cyrtanthus, and then Mackenii. And I imported these from South Africa, so I think I'm one of the only companies in the country that carries them.
Very
and
cool.
I love them, and I think as a plant collector, don't forget all of the bulbs from around the world that aren't mass produced, because a lot of these are becoming extinct over the future because they're where they're growing naturally, it's becoming developed. And it's sad because South African plants, they say up to 90% of them will be extinct in the next 100 years.
Oh.
So I think if you're a true plant collector, we should save our natives, but we really should save the natives from other countries as well.
Very much.
Yeah.
And now look at this one. This is one of the old favorites, a great hummingbird plant.
Yes, and I used to think red hot pokers or Kniphofia or Kniphofia, all the pronunciations are correct. I always say just pronounce it whoever you're hanging out with the way they're pronouncing it. And I love it because hummingbirds do like it. And I used to think it was kind of like an older person's plant or a real traditional plant. But hummingbirds love it, and it does bloom for so long.
It's
and
very
it's
beautiful.
so versatile, and it'll just, you just plant it and forget it.
Very
And
nice.
I just love it. It's a really pretty plant.
Well, Yolanda and Veen Bulbs are going to be all around the Northwest, Oregon and Washington. You can go to the website, see where she's going to be, or you can order online. Well, thank you so much for showing us some interesting bulbs today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.